He soared over hurdles at world record speeds to become one of the greatest high hurdlers in collegiate track and field history. Maryland's Renaldo Nehemiah once set a world record in the 110-meter hurdles. Then he broke that record a couple of weeks later. True to form, he eventually busted through that mark too. This talented terrapin set an astounding 9 world records combined during his legendary collegiate career, routinely knocking down times in both the 60 and 110-meter hurdles. Is it any wonder Nehemiah's family nicknamed him Skeets as a baby?
Every time I meet Skeets, you break another world record.
Tonight, though, we'll just call him a Hall of Famer. Raise high the black and gold for Maryland, Renaldo Nehemiah.
People still call you Skeets?
People with gray hair do.
How did a fence in a New Jersey backyard pave your way for success on the track?
You know, when you're a kid, you just create games. And so we had a split rail fence around our home, and I hurdled. I didn't know I was hurdling. I was running and jumping over this fence. And then in 1972, I see this guy with a part in the middle of his head, Rod Milburn, winning Olympic gold, and he's going over what I called a fence. And I go, I can do that. That's what I do all the time. And so he was my idol. I grew up emulating him. My hurdle form I took from him. And yeah, so I never knew there was an organized event where you ran and jumped until I saw that race.
What did your high school coach do to prepare you for collegiate track in terms of altering the hurdles?
We did crazy things in track, and I was not happy. My dual meets, I had to run over 42-inch hurdles, while everybody else ran over 39. And I always thought that was a disadvantage for me, and I wanted to win at all cost. And so he was preparing me for the next level before I knew it, and I was winning. Guys would run over 39s, and I was beating them over 42s, but I wasn't happy until I won the race.
Why Maryland? Everybody wanted you.
They did. Maryland knows this, but my first choice and only choice at the time was the University of Tennessee. It's still a sore thought in the back of my mind now because Stan Huntsman was the coach, and he thought I was a high school flash, and he didn't think I could sustain that level in college. And so my scholarship went to another great athlete, Jason Grimes. And so I had a vendetta every time I ran against him when I went to the University of Maryland. I had extra incentive to run against the Tennessee guys. And quite frankly, Maryland was the largest school that was close enough to my home in New Jersey where I knew I could get to and fro without having too much difficulty financially.
This is another coach, another mistake. I mean, it happens. Businesses make mistakes all the time, too. Hey, 7 indoor, 2 outdoor world championships as a Terp. A friend of mine, when I said Renaldo Nehemiah, he says, you got to ask him about the duels with Greg Foster at UCLA.
Well, God rest his soul, my nemesis, Greg Foster, I give him as much credit for my greatness as I could ever give myself. I always say greatness comes from competition. It was set up for theater, right? He was the taller guy on the West Coast. I was a little smaller guy on the East Coast. East met West, and it lived up to the hype. Greg Foster was the only person I ever ran against that could get me nervous and worried. I remember at a meet, I was in Europe sitting in the lobby with all my friends. I knew who I was competing against, and then out of the blue, Greg Foster walks into the lobby. And I just realized, okay, I got a problem right now. And I left immediately and went to my room and I just had to focus and get ready because I knew if he was there, he was coming after me. And so it made me great, it made him great. And you know, I have the utmost respect for everything that he's ever done. And it was true, we did not like each other. He didn't like me, I didn't like him. And we became very good friends post-careers. So I'm really pleased about that.
When we talked yesterday, and I said, what's something that we could talk about? And hopefully I got it right when you said it, but it was basically you say, all things being equal, your marks would stand today if all things were equal, but all things are not equal anymore when you look at track and field records.
Yeah, you know, Grant Holloway broke my collegiate record a few years ago. My record stood for 40 years, and he, thank you. And he broke my collegiate record by 2 100s. And we all have to agree that technology and advancements over 40 years are substantially greater than when they were. So I used to tease Grant when I see him. I go, I'm still better than you because you didn't improve my record by that much.
And so what you're talking about, not only that, but the shoes, the tracks, the nutrition, it's a full-time job now where it wasn't before.
Yeah, it was a hobby. It was a love fest. I did it for the pure love and joy of it. We ran for newspaper clippings and medals, unlike today. And I'm thankful that for the pioneers before me, and if I'm still, I was a pioneer in my own right for today's athletes who are the benefactors. But the 13-second barrier is still indeed a barrier. Very few people can do it with relative ease at all. And because it's an art form, you have to learn how to hurdle, not just run fast. But I'm just great that when people talk about hurdling, I'm still one that they speak about.
Listen, when they talk about superstars, they're still talking about you. But when they talk about Superstars, the television show, they're talking about you. What do you remember about that? He won 4 titles as the superstar.
Well, I remember that I won so many times that they kicked me out because I was embarrassing, football players and baseball players. But I have to give credit to the superstars because that's how I got to the San Francisco 49ers. And that story I was telling Michael Carter today. I met Dwight Clark, who had the catch in 1981, and Chris Collinsworth when I was competing. And they were enamored with my talent. And they said, "Man, you're a great athlete. You ever thought about playing football?" And I said, "Well, I played in high school, but I didn't play in college, so I'd be a free agent and, it wouldn't really amount to much." And then Dwight said, "Well, Bill Walsh would like a guy like you." And it was just idle chatter, right? These 2 guys who were great football players. Well, the next morning, my phone rings in my hotel room, and I answer the phone, and he goes, "Renaldo?" I go, "Yes." He goes, "This is Coach Walsh." And I hung up the phone because I said, these guys are playing a joke on me. So about an hour later, he calls me back, and he goes, "Renaldo, no, I'm serious. This is Coach Bill Walsh." And I said, "Well, if you're Coach Bill Walsh, call my agent." Click. And I hung up on him because I still didn't believe it. And then about 2 or 3 hours later, my agent called me up and said, "Renaldo, did you hang up on Bill Walsh?" And I said, "That was Bill Walsh?" So they flew me out to San Francisco. Other teams found out about it. But Bill Walsh was an avid track and field fan. And he was a huge fan of mine that I didn't even know about. And so I had to give him all the credit because he knew that the minute I signed a professional football contract, I would be banned from track and field. And so I signed a 4-year guaranteed contract, which was unheard of at the time. And so I just thank him all the time. I was telling Michael that Bill wouldn't let me play all the time because he said, "I can't let the greatest hurdler get hurt playing football." And I go, "But that's what I chose to do." And he goes, "But you don't understand. You're the world's greatest hurdler. I can't have you maimed from this sport." And so he was a protector. He was a great innovator. And of course, I got a Super Bowl ring out of it, so it wasn't all bad.
There you go. Super Bowl champion, superstar, Hall of Famer, Renaldo Nehemiah.